Hey guys, good afternoon, everybody. Today is Tuesday, May 30th. It is 2 o'clock right now, almost. Our scheduled mentoring sessions for 2 p.m. So I'm going to go ahead and set up this room real quick, and then we will get started shortly with our questions for today. So it's got a couple things here to update. And we should be good to go. All right, looks good. Let me get this link sent out to you guys here in the premium. And we should be good to go. So I'll get a few moments for people to make their way in. And we'll get started shortly. Right. So I'll get a few moments for people to make their way in, and we'll get started shortly. So good afternoon, everybody. Today is Tuesday, May 30th. It is 2 o'clock right now. Our scheduled mentoring session is for 2, so I'll just get a few moments for people to join their way in, and then we'll get started with a question shortly. I think there's one question over here from William. William's asking to see a buy example for a high-low scalp. So I'll go over a couple examples for that. If there's any other questions that you guys have, feel free to put them in the chat, and we'll answer basically all the questions that you guys have as we continue on with the session. But I'll give it a few moments for people to make their way in. I know some people, it takes time for them to get onto this, so it's no rush. But yeah, if there's any question that you guys have, feel free to put them in. I don't have anything specific, so we'll go on for as long as there's questions, and then from there we will we'll wrap it up for the day. All right, perfect. Let's see who's here so far. Hey, CJ, how's it going? Hey, Hussein. Hey, Richard, how's it going? Yeah, glad to have you here too, bro. All right, so yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. The main question that we have right now to cover is from William. He's asking to see some buy examples for some high-low scalps. William, if you can confirm, you just want to see normal high-low scalps, right? Not high-low momentum scalps, because I don't want you guys to be confused with the two different strategies. If they're just high-low scalps, that's fine. We'll cover that. I just want to make sure that they are high-low scalps and not high-low momentum scalps. Gotcha. Okay, just basic high-low scalps. Gotcha. Yeah, so we'll do that. Hey, Natasha, how's it going? Welcome back. Hopefully you had a great trip in Italy. It's good to see you back here in the group. So all right, guys. So we basically have one question from William. I think we had another question. I forgot who asked about taxes and stuff like that over the weekend. Yeah, no, definitely, Natasha. Let's see. I think there was somebody that asked about taxes over the weekend. I'll go over that like slightly. I don't know if that person's actually here. Let me check. Oh, Richard. Okay, perfect. So you're here. Awesome. So we'll cover that. We'll cover the high-low scalp, and then we'll also cover I guess ways that I would specifically, siphon my profits from funding companies. Richard, just quick question. Are you located in the US? And if you are, the state doesn't really matter, but if you do have a specific state, I can kind of like cater to you because I'm in California, you're in Texas. Okay, so your taxes are a little more lax, I think, in Texas. So you might actually have better opportunity, but it's going to be basically the same thing. So I'll show you how my stuff is formatted business wise, and then you can just use that as an example or a skeleton, and then from there you can figure out what the specifics are for your own state. But Texas is a lot more lax because California, they're pretty strict here. Kind of sucks, but I like living in California. I was actually thinking about even moving to Texas during COVID, but I just you just can't beat California weather. It's like it has the best of both worlds. Taxes here do suck, laws do suck here, but it is what it is. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I used to live here. Yeah, I'm also I'm licensed to practice law in California, so that's why I'm here as well. So I don't know if you know, but like prior to trading, I was an attorney out here, like a big firm. So there's more reason for me to stay out here. So instead of like saving money on taxes, I just find more ways to make money. So it goes both ways. Anyways, let's go over the first question. So first question is from William. He's asking if I can cover a buy example for a high-low scalp. Okay, perfect. We have one like literally right here. So I'm gonna go and pull this up. So it's going to be hard for me to pull up like a really, really good example, like a perfect example for you, William, because this is later in the session. So I can't necessarily tell you what the bias is. So we're just going to assume the bias, but I'm going to show you what the actual entry looks like. So let me put up the criteria over here for a high-low scalp. Okay, so like I mentioned, the first examples or the first requirement is going to be to confirm the overall bias. It's going to be really difficult for us to do this because this is after the live session time. So I can't really assume, what the bias was at this time. We got off the live session at, sorry, is that my T4? You're going to hear some weird noises on my screen, guys, because the market's closing right now at 2 o'clock. So you're going to hear some noises from my Thinkorswim. You're going to hear noises from my MT4. Don't worry about that stuff. It's just stuff in the background. But anyways, so for the first criteria, you have to confirm the overall bias. So for the overall bias, you need to look at retail sentiment, fundamental bias, and technical bias. We can't really confirm this stuff right now. Tomorrow during the live session, William, if you want me to cover this, I can cover for you, but I just can't cover right now because the retail sentiment that I look at right now is not going to be the same as it was during this entry. So all of this bias confirmation stuff is going to be difficult for me to cover later. But if you want me to cover it during the live session tomorrow, I'll cover it. I'm pretty sure you know what it is, though. We look at retail sentiment over here. We look at fundamentals. Basically, you want to make sure that retail sentiment is more on the short side. And then with the fundamentals, you want this to be bullish. Right now, it's neutral. And then for the technicals, we can confirm that. So that right here, you can see it's kind of neutral. So we're just going to skip over that. In the future, you'll be able to confirm that on your own. So first step over here is confirm overall bias. We're going to assume that it's bullish. It's just too difficult for us to go back and kind of predict what it was because time has passed. So we're just going to say bullish there. Confirm step one. Second, you want to confirm the previous high low. So right here, you want to confirm that there's an established previous high low. You can see this lower high right here. There's about 4 or 5 candles that passed after it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This would be the 6th candle. So with that said, we have a high low here established, right? So once you confirm that right there, we would have confirmed step 1 and 2. Step 3, you want to confirm that price breaks and closes past the previous K2 high low. So we have the high low right here, the blue line, and you can see this following candle right here breaks and closes past it. So once it's broken and closed past it right there, we've now confirmed step 3. For step 4, you want to confirm that you're trading in the direction of momentum. In order to do that, you want to look back at the most recent momentum signal. So looking back right here, you can see the most recent momentum signal is a buy signal. So with that said, we have steps 1, 2, 3, and 4 met. Lastly, you want to confirm that price is not ranging or consolidating. You can see that price is no longer ranging. It was ranging prior, but you can see here that price actually broke past it. So it's no longer ranging at this point. Lastly, you just want to make sure that price has not touched the previous swing before the breaking close. So in order to do that, you want to look back and see if any candles have touched this high low. This right here was never touched, so everything's been met. You have all the criteria over here. We'll go over them again step by step. confirm overall bias. We're going to assume that it was bullish, confirm that the previous high low, or confirm the previous high low, which is right there. Third, confirm price breaking close past the previous high low, which you did on this candle here, the entry candle. Step 4, confirm that you're trading the direction of momentum. We have a buy signal right here. Step 5, confirm that price is not ranging or consolidating. The price was ranging, broken close past it, so it's no longer ranging since it broke out of it. And lastly, you want to confirm that price has not touched this high low. So with that said, we have all the criteria there. You would enter this right here for a buy position as soon as this candle would have closed. Gone for 100 pips. You let the trade run, and there you go, full TP. So there goes one example right there for a buy. Let me see if I can find one more. Here goes another one right here. Just replay with this candle over here. And then you look for the same thing again. So again, William, right here, you're looking for pretty much the same exact thing. Confirm overall bias. We're going to assume it's bullish because we can't confirm it right now. So we're just going to pass over that. Second requirement, confirm the previous high low. This is a most recent high, or there's two high lows here. There's one down here. This one's not useful. This one right here has not been tested. So this is the previous high low that has not been tested yet. With that said, we've confirmed step 1 and 2. Step 3, you want to confirm price breaking close past the previous high low. So you can see over here, this candle has broken and closed past it. Step 4, you want to confirm you're trading the direction of momentum. We have a buy signal right there. Step 5, you want to confirm that price is not ranging or consolidating. You can see that price was ranging for a bit down here. Or I'll use different tools here so that it'll be a little more obvious. All right, so price was ranging down here. And you can see that obviously it's no longer ranging, right? Price was in a range down here. Price broke out of the range and it's no longer ranging. So with that said, that's going to be step 5. Price is no longer ranging or consolidating. And then lastly, you want to confirm that price has not touched this high low. So right here, you can see price has not touched it since this high low was established. And with that said, same thing again, long position, go for 100 pips, you let the trade run, full TP. So it's very simple. I feel like a lot of people overcomplicate it. It's not that difficult. It's really just following the requirements here. I always see a lot of people try to add like other requirements and stuff, which just doesn't make sense to me. Like if I put the requirements there, just follow them as they're placed, right? Let me see, there's a follow-up right here from Hussein, or let me see. Okay, no, I'll get to your question later. Hussein, let me see, I'll look at that later. William said, buy example, please, not a sell. William said, I like the second example you were showing me better. It's less clean and more candles going on. Very simple. Thank you for the run through. Yeah, definitely, William. If you want to see another example, just let me know. I'll zoom through real quick and I'll see if I can find one more. But it's just very simple strategy. You just got to follow the criteria. The one thing that a lot of people skip is when it's tested. So like step number 6, I feel like a lot of people skip this step. It's a very simple step. You just want to make sure that this high low has not been tested, right? So for example, right here, there's another entry right here, but see how this is tested? I see a lot of people who skip step 6. Like, yeah, you'll get lucky and it'll hit, but that's not the strategy, right? So there's an example of no entry there because there's a higher high right there. Price does touch it, so it invalidates step 6. It does break past it eventually, and yeah, it does hit TP. But it's a bad habit that I see a lot of people do, that a lot of people make. They kind of think like, okay, it's tested it, but I'm going to go anyways. They take it and then yes, it'll hit a lot of times, but that's not the strategy. So let me see if I can find one more example for you. Just want to make things as crystal clear as possible. And then we'll move on to the next question. So. Well, there's no more buy examples, but there are sell examples right here. So let me just go to one sell example. If anybody here is looking for a sell. I don't think this is one I would take. Let me just measure the candle real quick. Okay, this candle's too big, so I wouldn't have taken this one. If it came up or not. It's just too big of a candle. Let me see. Yeah, I don't think there's any other entries because the previous day was a holiday. So if I see any other examples, William, I'll show you, but I don't think there was any more that happened today or yesterday, because yesterday was a holiday, so volatility is low. But if I do see another one, or if you see one on your chart, or if I'm going over anything, William, and you see one that you might see as an example, just let me know, and I'll pull up, and we'll see if that's a valid entry or not. Okay, no problem, William. It's all going to be trial and error, so keep practicing, and then in the future, if there's a example that you're confused with, just save the timestamp, and then we can look it over. Let's see, a question from iPhone is asking, Sean, what happens if the momentum signal is far back and a new opposite signal is due? Doesn't matter. If it's still a buy signal, if you look back and the most recent signal is momentum for a buy, then it's still valid. So like, for example, down here, iPhone, we have a buy signal. The entry for this didn't come for like, let's see. So the entry didn't come. So that's the thing. So iPhone, and let me just go back to the question. iPhone said, what if the momentum signal is far back and a new opposite signal is due? How would you know if it's due, right? That's the whole gist of it. You won't know if it's due. So like, yeah, price might be overextended to some extent, but you never know when that's going to be due, right? Like price can like literally go up for a long time. Like for example, here there's a buy signal and this thing pushes up for how many candles? Pushes up for like 40 minutes, right? You can say like, for example, maybe it's due for retracement here, but it just never happens and it just keeps pushing up higher and higher. There's going to be some instances where you get a retracement candle and it comes down like 5 candles, or you have some right here where it pushes up and you're like, okay, it's due already, right? So I can see where your concern is, iPhone, but realistically, we don't know when it's going to be due. If the volatility and momentum is high enough, then you just look back to whatever's there. So you should never be scared about like making entries because say it's been pushing up for too long. Because like, for example, here, price did push up for a while. It retraced right here, but there was no sell signal. So it can go on forever in some instances. I mean, it doesn't go on like that a lot, but there's going to be some days, like check this out right here, iPhone, right? You got a sell signal and this thing pushes down for a really long time. I mean, at this point, there's no more high lows, right? Because all the high lows have been knocked out. Let's go here real quick. Yeah, so at this point, I mean, yeah, it'll be overextended, but you're not going to be at a point where you're going to worry about that because all the high lows are like right here. So this is like the lowest high low. So at this point, you're like, okay, price was a bit overextended. You can see right here, it is definitely overextended at this point, but there's still a high-low scalp that comes up right here and it still works perfectly fine. So I wouldn't limit yourself to overextension for this specific strategy, because this strategy is it's a continuation strategy. So it's meant to continue pushing on, further and further and further versus other strategies like V1 variation where you're looking for the reversal. So yeah, it can go on forever. Just, whenever you have an entry like this does come up pretty far. Say it comes up like 36 minutes later. But if you look back, it's still the most recent momentum. So yeah, I wouldn't ever be too scared about that. The only time I would be scared is if it's super overextended and you look at the bias and the bias is opposite, right? So like say price is dropping super heavily and the bias is bullish. But then again, if that's the case, you wouldn't even be taking the entry, right? Because you could look at the overall bias first step. That wouldn't even cross your mind because you're going to have a bearish bias when you have this entry here. So yeah, no problem, iPhone. I know it's a common question that I get a lot with a lot of people. Sometimes, people get worried sometimes if it's overextended and they're like, okay, a buy signal has to come up at some point. But the thing is, like, this thing can go on forever. Like you can see this sell signal goes on for about, it goes on for well over an hour. And sometimes you're just going to get long trending moves like that. So it's fine. All right, so let me scroll up real quick and see if there's anything else that I'm missing. Yeah, definitely, William. If I'm like scrolling around and you see an entry where it kind of crosses your mind and you're like, oh, that looks like a good high-low scalp, you can just let me know and I can pull you, pull up another chart and we can take a look at it quickly. All right. Hey, Shannon, how's it going? Natasha said, did you move, Sean? Your background is different. Yeah, I actually moved like about a week or two ago. I'm still in the same place. I just moved to like one of the penthouses here. So bigger unit, office is is a lot bigger. You probably can tell my voice is a little different because there's so much space in my new office. So you might hear like a little bit of an echo. So yeah, I gotta put the pictures back up behind me eventually once I figure it out. The wall behind me is so big, so I need to figure out where am I gonna place it. Because in my last office, it was like perfect, where it was just like my office space, like the desk. But now I could fit like 4 desks in here. It's like a size of like a master bedroom, so I'll figure it out. Yeah, no, I'll try to fix that echo. I think I just gotta put stuff in the office because the office is so empty right now. It's just a bunch of stuff on the walls. And I'll figure out some way to fix it. All right, so let me scroll up real quick. The next question was from Richard. Okay, so yeah, Richard had a question about taxation purposes here in the US. I think it's somewhat similar to you guys in like in the UK or like in Europe, but it's slightly, I'm sure it's very similar, but it's like slightly different. So the way that I do it, so I'll just kind of draw an example. And this is not tax advice, guys. I'm not a tax person. I am an attorney and I'm licensed to practice law, but I'm not a tax person. So I don't take this as tax advice. I'm just going to show you guys how I do it. If you guys want to do it this way, then great, that's fine. But I'll just show you my structure. So this is the way that my structure, my business is structured. This way I get the most tax benefits out of prop firm profits. And this is the reason why I prefer to trade through prop firms versus my my main account. So let me just show this quick. This is my structure for prop firm profits. Okay, so I'll put this right here as so these are the profits that I get from prop firms, FTMO, MFF. Those are the only 2 I use, TFF at some point, but right now it's just MFF and FTMO. So these are my prop firm profits. These go to my, so whenever I get profits, they get deposited. Let's see if I copy this easier. There we go. Deposited to my business bank account. Right? I don't deposit any of my funds to my personal account. None of my money goes to my personal account. This is how I do it. Business bank account, LLC, taxed as S Corp. So I get prop firm profits, they get deposited to my, whenever I get a payout, I get a wire transfer to my business bank account, LLC taxes S Corp. And then from here, I pay myself personally via monthly paycheck. And then that's how that's how I would and then it's subject to employee tax, but it's you're gonna get a way better bang for your buck this way. So this is basically how I get paid out, Richard, how I get and then at the end of the year, see if I can do this a little better. Okay. Profit from profits, business bank account, LLC tax S Corp. Pay myself personally. And then rest of profits, or rest of money, or yeah, I guess rest of profits distributed to me personally. So this is basically how I do it. You know, everyone's a little different. Depends on your. Everyone's just slightly different. I mean, depending on what your situation is like. This is how I get paid out. Yeah, okay, so this is how I get, this is basically how it works. And then on top of that, you can also take tax deductions. Because if you're doing it this way, you're operating as a business. So whenever you get funded by FTMO, they're going to ask you a contract. They're going to say, do you want to register as an individual or as a business? Register as a business or register as an individual. And then later you can switch over to business. And then you can also take tax deductions deductions. So the cool thing about this is that so examples of biz tax deductions. You deduct anything. Office space, portion of apartment or home. Kodi subscriptions. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you can deduct. You can deduct everything. So you basically free things, free business related things. Like you basically get the stuff for free. You know, so examples of business deductions, basically free business related things, home office space, portion of office rent, Kodi subscriptions, trading view subscriptions, data subscriptions. Here's a big thing: challenge fees. So here, the cool thing about this is that you can like fail a ton of challenges right throughout the year. You can suck basically from like January until June, and then if you start killing it from like June to December, you're gonna have all this profit, right? Instead of you having to like pay a bunch in taxes, your challenge fees are going to be deducted. So in a sense, you're basically getting free challenges. That's really what it is. So sorry, one second. All right. So by doing this here, you get your tax deductions, and then on top of that, you get taxed differently. So if you're trading like a personal account, you get taxed capital gains because you're not supposed to like you know, take withdrawals like unless you're like if you're taking withdrawals like every week or every month, that's going to be taxed as a capital gain. When you get profit from profits, you're getting paid as like a contractor. Like say, for example, if you're a barber or something, right? You get taxed as a business. So for me, I do an LLC, it's taxed as an S corp. You don't really need to make an S corp until you start making a lot of money. So once you start making like over 75K, then get taxed as S corp. Right now, you can start as LLC. It's gonna flow through. And then I pay myself personally. I'm the CEO of my company, so I pay myself like over 100K a year. That's going to be subject to employee tax. So that's another tax write-off. I get written off by paying myself a monthly paycheck. And then at the end of the year, whatever's left over, I just distribute back to myself. And then you can take business tax deductions. These are just to name a few. I guess one of the biggest ones I took last year was my car. So if you guys remember, I bought my Porsche last year. around the summer. I killed it like January to July, and I was like, okay, I want to get a new car. So I bought my Porsche Taycan Turbo. I paid like 220K for that car, and then I got a full tax deduction. There's a special deduction for that. It's at 180, section 179. It's a Trump. They call it the Trump tax. Trump tax or Hummer tax. Basically, if you had a car over 6,000 pounds, you can write off the entire car. So I made a lot of profit trading last year, early in the year. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna get a brand new car. So I got a brand new car, maxed it out, got like, I pretty much just souped it out with like everything that I could get on it. And so I ended up paying like 220K, and that's a full write-off. So instead of me paying like 200,000 in like taxes, I just ended up getting a car. It's my business vehicle. And there's just ways to do that. So if you get taxed this way, you get taxed as an independent contractor or self-employment. So you're basically getting like a way better tax. You get taxed way better versus getting taxed as an individual. So you can also do this as a sole prop, but this is just how I do it. I mean, if you're not making a lot of money trading, then take the sole prop route. And then if you start to make a little more, take the LLC route. And you start to make more, you go the S corp route. I'm making a lot from trading, so that's why I take this route. As I mentioned, there's different ways to do it. You guys should definitely consult with like an actual CPA or some type of tax specialist to figure out what fits your criteria more. But if you start to make like say like 25K in profits, then you should probably go the LLC route. If you start making over 75K, then you should do the S corp route because you get better tax deductions. So I make over 100K trading, so I pay myself over 100K, and then everything else at the end gets added on to it. So that's the way that that I do it. Richard. So let's see. Richard said, I'm gonna scroll down real quick. Natasha said, so you pay yourself from your business account. Yeah, I pay myself a W-2. So it's like a real business, like an actual company. Like if I'm working for the company, Natasha. The only thing is that I own the company. So I own the company, I'm the CEO of the company, and then I pay myself a W-2, like a normal person gets a paycheck. So it's not like, I'm not like giving myself like $100, right? I'm like, oh, here's $100. No, like everything is documented. I pay myself through my processor. They give me an actual paycheck. Well, not an actual paycheck, it's direct deposit, but they pay me like a normal employee. So the money goes to the business account. Every month, it's just an automatic paycheck that I'm getting, and then I pay myself just enough because I don't really need that much money to live. I'm not doing like extravagant things every day like a lot of like other people out there who are trading. I'm pretty humble with like my money, guys. I don't really care too much about like spending on dumb things, so I kind of just I spend it on things that I need. But yeah, for the most part, I pay myself a paycheck. So firm profits to the business account. Business account pays me a paycheck every month. And then at the end of the year in December, whatever is left over, I just give to myself as a bonus basically. So it gets taxed that way. It's just better to get taxed that way versus taking it all up front because then you have to pay like a huge employee tax. So that's this once you start to make a lot of money trading, guys, this is like the smart route. You don't even have to be making a lot. You could make a decent amount, and this is probably gonna be the smartest route for you guys to take. So yeah, this is how I do it. Let me scroll up real quick. Richard's asking, is it also possible to have payouts go to your family foundation as well? Yeah, I mean, you could create a trust for it. I mean, they would still have to be taxed though. It's gonna be the same thing. So yeah, technically you could do that. You can have a deposit, but you still would have to, the taxes would have to be accounted for. Like they're not just like money popping out of nowhere and you can put it into your trust, right? Even if you want to put it into your family foundation, which is a trust, it's not going to be, you can't get away with like not paying taxes on that money. Because the thing is, when you register your funded account, I'm not sure if you're funded yet, but when you register your funded account, you have to tell them like, okay, am I getting paid out as an individual or a business? Because if you're getting paid out, like your trust is not going to fall under one of the two, right? It has to be an individual or a business. You can't pay out to a trust. So you can pay it out. Like when they ask you where you want to have the money wired to, you can have it wired directly to your trust. The only problem is that money has to be accounted for. So it just wouldn't make sense, right? You should probably do it from your business to your family trust. You're still going to get taxed like one way or another. You're either going to get taxed as an individual, or you're going to get taxed as a business. But yeah, you can have the payouts go directly to your family trust. It's just the IRS is going to find you one way or another, and trust me, they'll find you because they found me. And man, like a year ago, I had to pay like almost 40K in taxes. It's crazy because I tried to do what you did. They're gonna find you either way. There's no point in hiding it or running away from it. You're gonna get a letter in the mail from the IRS like, oh, you owe this much in back taxes. Because the thing is, FTMO is going to report those taxes. They're still going to report it. So either way, the IRS is going to find out one way or another. When you're trading with a unregulated account, you can kind of get away with it, but the IRS is going to find you either way. So there's no the only way you could get away with that is if you gifted it. But even if you gifted it, it still wouldn't work because the profits aren't coming from you, right, Richard? If that makes sense, because like you can gift it to your trust, but the taxes would have to be paid on when it initially gets to you. So it gets deposited to one of your accounts, gets taxed, then you can gift it to your foundation. But yeah, I don't think you can do it. It's like doing FTMO is or any type of funding company is similar to working any type of independent contractor job, you know, whether you be a barber, any of that stuff. Hussein's asking, what about offshore bank accounts? I mean, I don't know where you're located. I don't know where you're located, Hussein, but the IRS does not play. So yeah, you can do what you want with offshore bank account. I don't know if you're located in the US, but if you're located in the UK, I don't know how strict they are, but the IRS in the US, they're going to find, there's always a paper trail. You can't just like get away by putting your money in an offshore account. Either way, FTMO is going to report to their tax or whatever they report to that they gave you money. So there's going to be a paper trail like, oh, we gave Hussein this, you know, this amount of money, and then your tax, whatever, is going to question you like, okay, Hussein, FTMO said they gave you this much money. Where's the money? And where's your taxes on it, right? So I'm not sure where you're located, Hussein. I think if you're located like in Dubai or something, it's different out there. Like you don't really get, okay, you're in Dubai, so that makes sense. So I don't know what the law is out in Dubai. I know a lot of people get away with more stuff in Dubai. So you would have to like consult with somebody that knows. I had a feeling you were in Dubai when you said offshore accounts. I don't know how strict they are about taxes and stuff out there. So unfortunately, I can't. Yeah, exactly. There's no income tax there. So you might be able to get away with it for you specifically. You'll see a lot of people who move to Dubai to do stuff like that, but here in the US, they're very, very strict about like tracing your money. So yeah, I would say you probably just want to talk to someone who knows about taxes in Dubai. But yeah, if that's the case, then you might be able to get away with it. This stuff probably doesn't even matter to you. Like you don't have to do any of this stuff because you don't have to really run things through anything because you don't owe any income tax. So all the income that you get to keep. So that's nice. Must be nice to say. So yeah, for you that might be the case where you can get away with it. Can't do it here in the US. US, you know, you have Joe Biden knocking at your door. He'll be waking up next to you in bed. Like, did you pay your taxes? Yeah, no, they're pretty strict here. I've tried to find my different ways around things. It's better, you know, that there's legal ways to do it, but it's always a gray area. Let's see. Okay, let me scroll up real quick and see what else I'm missing. So MC said, I was thinking of doing that. S Corp, they just pay myself a W-2. Yeah, you can do that, MC. That's exactly what I do. I do S Corp, and then I pay myself a W-2. I pay myself about 100K a year. Yeah, I kind of fluctuate sometimes. Sometimes I just try to stay within the parameters. I don't want to pay myself too little because then it'll raise red flags. And also don't want to pay myself too much. Then I pay too much in taxes. but it doesn't really matter because if you pay overpaying taxes, they'll give you a refund at the end of the year. Like last year, I ended up getting like 30K back because I overpaid in taxes. So I got 30K refund, which is cool. I mean, it would have been nice if I didn't pay for it, but it's all good. I still got a pretty nice refund at the end of the year. So my advice to you, if you're in the US, I would try to pay more and then just try to get that refund at the end of the year versus paying less. Because if you pay less, they're going to hit you with some type of fine, and then they're going to start investigating your account. So you don't want to be investigated. That's when things start to get kind of messy. The MC said, what category does your LLC or S Corp operate under? It operates under e-commerce, or no. It initially was e-commerce, and then I switched it over to professional services like consulting, because that's basically what you're doing. So with FTMO, they're not necessarily paying you, like you're not necessarily getting paid to trade their live account, right? Because they say that you trade a demo account. So if you're trading a demo account, they're paying for your skills in analyzing the charts, right? That's where my lawyer background comes into play, because it's kind of a gray area. When you're trading with FTMO, you think you're trading for them, but you're really not, because in a sense, they're giving you a demo account. So like the trades that you're taking, they don't have to copy them. It's up to them if they want to copy it or not, right? You're trading a demo account. So if you make money on the demo account, they pay you for the profits made on the demo. They're not paying you for profits made on a real account, which I'm glad they do that, because that's one way of arguing it. Because if you're trading a live account, then you would get taxed capital gains. You can't do what I'm doing here. Like this stuff right here wouldn't work if you were trading a live account. Since you're trading a demo account, they're technically paying you for your skills in trading. They're paying me to read the charts and hit buy or sell whenever I think, stuff's going to happen. So, it's a gray area. That's why I prefer to trade with prop firms, because you can get away with more stuff. Because you're exchanging your skill in analyzing the charts and calling plays versus, you trading a live account. Because if you trade a live account, then you're considered a trader. I don't want to be considered a trader, because then you get taxed differently on that as well. You get taxed like a crazy amount if you're like labeled as like, a professional trader. So a lot of people don't know this stuff. It's crazy. Like a lot of people, they want that title where they say, well, I'm a trader. I prefer not to be labeled as a trader, because if you get labeled as a trader, then you got to pay like a crazy amount of taxes, because then everything's a capital gain at that point. So yeah, MC, I register as a professional services or consultant. It's like one of those, or e-commerce works too. I mean, you're still a consultant through e-commerce. So I'd probably just, file under that. So other than that, let me see if there's anything else here that I'm missing. All right, Maddie, I'll see you back here on tomorrow. All right, let me scroll down real quick. Richard's asking, was going to gift it to a nonprofit. Yeah, I figured that's what you're trying to do too, Richard. You can gift it, but it's still gonna have to be taxed one way or another. Like it's different when you already have the money and then you're gifting it. But once it touches your account, you get taxed on it. And then from there you can gift it. So that's how it would work in that situation. Okay, one last question regarding this. If there's any other questions regarding this, guys, like, this tax stuff, just pop into the chat now, because once we're done with the tax stuff, we're going to move on to like whatever's next. Here's another question from William. William said, I traded an account for a friend in the Philippines. It's under an account company, not permitted in the US. Then that money goes to my friend. And when I travel to Asia, I spend from that account as well as pay my friend's family 4 times a year from the account. William pays Philippine tax and has an account in Manila. I use a VPN to mask my US location. Nice. Yeah. So that's one thing that you can do too. Like what William does here is he trades an account for a friend who's located in the Philippines. It's not a type of account that's allowed here in the US, but he's, he found a workaround for it. And that's how he does. He spends out of that account when he visits the country, and he pays the family friend certain amount and he pays taxes in the Philippines. So that works. You're still paying taxes on something. You're not necessarily evading. You're just you're paying taxes and then you use that when you're out there. So that works too, William. I've never heard of anybody do that, but that sounds smart the way that you've done it. See, MC said, okay, cool, thanks. Didn't know what to tell my lawyer when she asked me what kind of business I'm starting up. Yeah, just do it. Tell them that you're doing professional services. And you can just tell them what I, basically what I just explained right now. You're basically you're providing like your expertise or specialty in like reading charts to like this company, and then they're going to pay you for your advice, basically. Not necessarily advice, but like for your skill. Don't say advice because you can't give trading advice unless you're like licensed. So you never want to say that you're trading for anybody, because you're trading a demo account. You don't want to say you're trading. You want to say that you're not even giving advice. You're exchanging your skill in like analyzing charts and stuff for a fee. So you're basically a contractor. And they tell you that when you sign the contract with FTMO, they label you as an independent contractor. You're not necessarily an employee for them or stuff like that. You just want to make sure your keywords are there. You don't want to tell them you're a trader. And you don't want to tell them you're a trader because when you sign up for a bank, so see, I have a bank account right here with the business. If you tell your bank that you're trading, they're not going to set up an account with you. They're going to automatically deny you because it's a conflict of interest because the banks trade too. Obviously, the big banks are market makers, institutions. They're not going to set up a bank account with you if you trade because it's a conflict of interest. You guys can both be traders and helping each other out. So yeah, if you guys do sign up for a business account, definitely do not tell them you're a trader because I did that the first time and it was like such a mess. Like I had to talk to like one of the higher ups, or not even one. I had to talk to like 3 higher ups to explain to them what I was doing, and then they finally opened a bank account for me. Given that I'm not a normal member with the bank. Like with Chase, I'm a private client. To be a private client, you have to have like over 250K in the account, I believe. I don't know what it is now, but when I signed up, you got to have about 300K in the account, like at all times. So, me being a private client, it was still difficult for me to open a business account with them because they just won't. It's part of the protocol. Okay, let me scroll up real quick. Another question and I see your question up there, Hussein. All right, so I think those are all the tax questions. Again, guys, I'm not a tax professional, so this isn't tax advice. This is just me showing you what I'm doing. This is what I do, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be good for you guys. You should talk with an actual tax professional and they can help you with, figuring out what works best for you. And especially with one that's in your location. So if you're in the US, this is probably the route that you want to take. If you're in Europe, there's probably be something different. And if you're in Dubai, like Hussein, none of this even applies to you. You're fine just taking the money as is. Yeah, no problem, Richard. All right, so let me clean this up real quick. Let me see. Okay, question from Hussein. Let me scroll up real quick. Hussein's question over here is, all right, Hussein said, hi, Sean, good to see you. Can you please show a demo of your trade execution process as price changes so rapidly? I just want to ask if you can show your process, whether you simply click at the same second of the candle close for your entry or place a limit order ahead of time. And if you place a limit order, how do you cope with broker price difference? Also, the liquidity push price just shoots up, does not have enough time for execution. How do you manage that, if you can please visualize? So unfortunately, I can't pull up my MC4. If you guys remember last week, I made the mistake of dragging my MC4 to this main screen over here, and then it ended up corrupting it. So I had to go and delete it and reinstall it. And then from there, it kind of screwed it up. So I couldn't enter the trade. If you guys remember, that happened like last week. Let me see, I took like one trade here and it had like one where it was a small lot size. It was like on 26 or no, before that. Yeah, it was on the 25th. So on the 25th last week, you can see my first trade here. It was like at 0.01 because I had to reinstall MC4 and I couldn't like set my lot size. So unfortunately, I can't drag over my MC4 here, but all I do for the most part, Hussein, is I just hit buy or sell. So I wait for the candle to close, like you mentioned, or I wait for price to get to a certain area. Like say, for example, let's see, it's hard to show like live, but you know, and I'll go over here and I'll see if I can find something like, trying to see if there's like any type of trade here that I would have taken. So depending on what type of entry that you're looking for, Hussein, like for example, okay, so like this one over here, let me show you. This is one that, this would be a high low momentum scalp, right? So right here, okay, so for this specific trade right here, Hussein, I mean, it's not even a high low momentum scalp because there's a high low in between. Let me see if I can find a better example for you. Okay, just one right here. Okay, so say for example, this is a high-low momentum scalp. I rarely place a pending order. So every time I enter a trade, Hussein, I'm like looking at the chart and I'm looking for the countdown. If you remember, there's like a countdown over here on the right side. It's not open right now because the market's closed, but typically there's a countdown right here. And there's also a countdown on the quick trade manager. So there's a countdown here and it'll count like from 60 to 50 to 40. It's going to count down from 60 down because it's going to go every minute, right? So what I'm looking for is when we have a high low momentum scalp like this, we have a higher high, we have a sell signal right here. It's breaking, closing past pivots 1 and 2. I'm waiting for that countdown over here on the right side to close down. So I'm looking this to go to like 10 seconds. Typically, I'm not going to look at it until it gets down to the last 10 seconds. Once it gets close to the last 10 seconds, at that point, I'm just waiting for the candle to close. As soon as this candle here closes, and you can see that it's a sell signal, then I have my finger on my buy or sell button. So like, I mean, you can't see it here, but on my FTMO quick trade manager, let me see if I can find it over here. I'll just do a screenshot of this. Okay. So this is what my quick trade manager looks like, right? When I'm looking for the sell to come down, Hussein, I just have my finger, I have my clicker on the sell button already. So as soon as it closes, I just hit click, sell. I already have my TP stop loss set up, and then I just let the trade run from there. So that's typically how I enter an order. Sometimes I'll set a pending order, but that rarely happens. I don't really do that very often. I only do that if I'm entering late, but most of the time I don't even do that because it's too slow, right? I can't do it with a price difference. I tried to do it before because I thought the price would always be the same, but it's been changing every single day. Like that one day that I did it a long time ago, it was like 60-point difference. And then the day after it was 80-point difference. And today it was 40-point difference. It's just impossible for me to do something like that. You know, the trade's moving too fast. So basically what I'm typically doing is when I see this coming down, I have 3 screens. I wish I could show, well, I can show you. Let me see. Let me see if I can show you what my screen looks like. Sorry. See if I can take a screenshot of what my computer looks like. So it's basically, let me make sure I get everything on there. Sorry, this thing doesn't come up. It's kind of blurry, but I have 3 screens. So let me just kind of illustrate for you. I have 3 screens on my. Let me see if I can. I'm gonna take it on my IG because when I take it on my other phone, it comes up all blurry on my I don't know if you follow me on social media because I always post my stuff on social media. Yeah, let me see if I can just copy this real quick. All right, I'm gonna post it in the group over here in the chat group. And then you can see what my setup looks like. See. Okay, so this is what my setup looks like, right? This is where I'm at right now. This is my main screen. I just have trading view up. You can see my quick trade manager right here on the right side. I'm like literally just having my finger right over it. So when I see the entry coming up, I'm just hitting buy or sell, buy or sell. I have it click, my mouse is right over it. And as soon as the candle closes, I just click buy or sell, whichever one it is. I have my TP set up already. So it's like, it's pretty straightforward. I'm just, everything's pretty much good to go. Got my TP set up. As soon as I hit buy or sell, it just automatically places the order. So that's typically how I would make an order. Sometimes I'll set a pending order, but that's like something I can't really teach you. You have to do it on your own because not everyone's going to be able to do quick enough. Even for myself, it's a little difficult. So if it's difficult for me, it's going to be difficult for you too. So I'd recommend just entering market order. In a lot of instances, if you miss the trade, then you just miss the trade. Don't try to enter it late. Yeah, I know. So Hussein said, okay, got to be on my toes when the tree pops up. Click the candle. Understood now. So the moment the candle closes, just click the trade. Yeah. So this is one example. So when the candle closes, you're gonna hit buy or sell. You just gotta be like focused. Like you gotta be like staring at the chart. For me, it's a little difficult because I'm answering questions and stuff. So for you, it might be a little easier because you're just staring at the chart, looking at the timer right here, and then you just hit buy or sell like immediately. The other way that I wanted to show you is when you have liquidity, right? So say, for example, you have liquidity like right there, right? For me, if price gets really close to it like this right here, I mean, it touched it. But when it gets really close to that right there, that's when I hit buy or sell. I don't wait for any close of the candle. So if you're looking for liquidity, like how I do in the morning, I'm just waiting for price to get near it. When it gets really close to it, I just hit sell or buy or sell, same as I did earlier, right? Hit buy or sell, and then from there, I'm going to be in the position. So I know, like Hussein said, only issues, I've never traded at such high speed before. Yeah, but you'll get used to it. You've only been around for like, what, 2 weeks now? Maybe 1 or 2 weeks. Once you do this every day, it's going to be very simple, right? It's like when you drive a car. Like if you drive a car and you're going to hit something, you don't really think about it, right? You just move your wheel out of the way. Same with trading. Like for me, for example, I could be talking to you guys, having a conversation, and then as price gets near a place, like where I'm looking for entry, I could just immediately go to my screen and then hit buy or sell. So that's why my screens over here are really close. So all I do is I just drag over real quick. So I could be talking to you on my main screen right here, and then I just slightly move over really quickly, and I just hit buy or sell. I don't have to think that much because my screens are connected. So I just need to like drag over super quickly. Yeah, but I mean, that's pretty much all that it is, Hussein. I know it's going to be difficult early on, but eventually you're gonna start to understand how to even get in a little earlier. Like you can wait till like the last 5 seconds, and then once it gets to the 3rd second, you just hit buy or sell, and then you're going to be in the position perfect time. So it's just going to come with practice. You're not going to get it overnight. You're probably not going to get it like that quickly either. It's just going to click eventually once you've done it a couple times. All right, so I think that's it with that question right there. Let's see, one question from Dijon. He said, hey, Sean, I'm unable to join the mentoring session today, but if you could later in the session go over SR rejections so I can drop back and look. Yeah, no, definitely. So I'm going to go over these examples too for Dijon. So Hussein said, Sean, thanks, Sean, for the detailed explanation. Also for the high-low momentum scalp, can you suggest if the high-low or lower high keeps repainting? Because when I back test, it shows no higher, lower high at times, but in real time, it does repaint. Yeah, so that's why you'd have to be looking at it real time, like I mentioned, Hussein, because we had an example today. If you remember today, during the live session, there was one that repainted, right? That's why, like, you shouldn't really care what happens before the momentum signal. So whenever you're looking for an entry, Hussein, you mainly want to focus on the momentum signal, right? Like you shouldn't really care what's happening in between. So like, for example, right here, this here repaints, right? So you wouldn't even have taken this one right here. So if you were waiting for the momentum signal, you'd see there's a high low in between. This right here wouldn't be an entry because there's a high low in between. So what I would recommend is when you're back testing, make sure that you're only focusing on like the momentum. So the momentum signal is going to be your catalyst for every entry, right? Until you see this, you shouldn't even bother looking for a high level momentum scalp. I mean, you can mark it up like I do on the live sessions. You'll see sometimes on the live, I'll mark up the higher high, and then I'll mark up the lower low, right? That way we can see the range when price is going back and forth within the range. And then also, you can understand, or you can just anticipate the high level momentum scalp to come, right? So from what I would recommend for you to prevent getting caught in the repaint, because like for example, here you wouldn't even take this trade, there's no trade there. I would just focus on the momentum signal because the momentum signal is going to be the catalyst. So like right here, there's a momentum signal and there's a high low right here. At this point, there's no more repainting, right? The candle is already closed. This can't repaint anymore at this point because there's no entry. It can repaint before. So like, for example, I'm going to see if I can find an example here where it repaints, but the repaint doesn't really matter. The repaint shouldn't matter for the strategy because it's not going to repaint while you're looking for entry. When you have the momentum signal, it's already going to satisfy the criteria. So there's no higher high there. Let me see if I can find one. Okay, so another one right here. Actually, this wouldn't be it because this would still be an entry. There's no high lows in between. See this one right here. Yeah, so you're not really going to get a repaint. So like it's impossible for you to get a repaint if the entry already comes up. I think it's kind of confusing for you, Hussein, when you're back testing because you think about the repaint, but when you have an entry that's already up, like for example, the catalyst is the buy signal. If everything lines up, then the repaint doesn't matter because it would have repainted already, right? Let me see if there's one here. Okay, so like for example, right here, see how this here, it does repaint when price goes after, but it doesn't matter because at this point right here, we're saying there'd be no entry. So you have a higher high right here. So you have a higher high right there. You have a sell signal right there. And then you have a high low in between, right? Since there's a high low in between, this is no entry. It repaints after. So if you're looking at this from a later time, like if you're looking at it later, you're like, okay, yeah, there would be an entry here, right? Because you're like, okay, there's an entry there. You wouldn't see the high low in between, but it doesn't matter because if you're doing it real time, there would be no entry at that point, right? So the repaint doesn't matter. The repaint only confuses you when you're back testing, but when you're doing it real time, it's not going to make a difference because there's no entry here. Let me see. Another question from Hussein, he's asking, at times the momentum candle is a high low or lower high. No, that's fine. You can ignore that. It just has to be in between. So if you look at the criteria here, so you can still take the entry. So it just says no other high lows in between. Basically, what you're looking for here is you're looking for a straight push. You don't want any type of structure in the way. So you can have a high low on the candle. It just can't be anything in between. The reason for that is because basically what you're doing when you're looking for this entry, Hussein, is you're looking for a high low here. Let me share real quick. So when you mark up the high low right here, or you'll see me mark it up during the live sessions, essentially what you're doing here is you're trying to identify the top. Is to identify the top and bottom. So that's kind of what you're looking for. Like when you're using these higher highs and lower lows, you're basically identifying the tops and the bottoms, right? So you have the top right here. And same with this bottom area over here. You have the bottom, right? So, you look back and you're like, okay, there's a lower low here, high low momentum scalp. You identify the bottom, price pushes up. Same with this one right here. You identify a higher high. It's not always going to be the top though. So like, for example, right here, right? There's a higher high right here, but it's not the top. There's no sell signal here. So there'd be no entry here for a high low momentum scalp. So the logic behind looking for these higher highs and lower lows is to predict where the top and bottoms are. So right here, we're kind of predicting this to be the top. That's why that criteria comes up. See how price comes down super heavily right here, and then you have a sell signal. When you have a movement like this is a confluence. So you have a confluence here for a top, and you have a confluence for momentum. If you have two confluences where you have a top and then momentum, odds of price continuing to drop lower is very likely, right? So that's why we have that criteria here. Second criteria is to confirm. This is basically the confirmation. Once you have the confirmation there, that's where you're anticipating price to drop at least 100 pips for it to hit your TP. And that's where the strategy comes from. So yeah, there's always going to be confusion, but it's good that you're on these mentoring sessions because I can explain it to you and break it down so that it makes sense. So yeah, you can take it even if it's in between. Yeah, there would be no entry here for this one, but I was just showing that as an example for like the logic behind the strategy. Yeah. So there's no entry here, but I was just showing you that's how I came up with the strategy. The reason I came up with it because we're using two confluences, identifying tops and bottoms, and then identifying a following confirmation of momentum so that you can catch this as it comes down lower. Okay. So I think that's it with that question there. If there's anything that I missed, Hussein, just let me know. But I think that's it for that specific one. The other example that Dejan was asking me about was the SR rejections. So let me show you guys some SR rejection examples here. See if I can find anything. Gotcha. Hussein said because several times the high low and lower high is repainted and shifted momentum candle. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, if it comes up on the momentum, it's fine. But if it's not there for the if it's in between, then you can't use it. But if it's on the specific momentum candle, that's fine. All right, so let me show you guys the SR rejection scalp. This strategy is typically used when market's going sideways. So we do have a sideways market over here. Let's mark this up right here. Here, let me just show you guys how this is identified. Okay. So I'll replay to this candle right here. Okay, so here's an example for a buy. So first you want to confirm that you're trading in the direction of trend using the trend meter and the pivots. So in order to do that, you just want to make sure that the trend meter down below is green, and you want to make sure that price is above the pivots are angling up, and price is continuing in that direction. So confirm trading in the direction of trend using the trend meter and the pivot. So down here, you can see the trend meter down below is green, and you can see that price is above the pivots are angling up, and price is continuing in that direction. So with that said, we have a bullish bias, so we can look for a buy here. Next, you want to identify a bottom wick rejection off an SRV2 zone. So this is what the market looks like without the SRV2 indicator on there. When you turn on the indicator, you can see there's zones here, right? There's a couple different ways to mark up zones. You can either just identify them with the indicator here. For me personally, I like to identify them manually because it's so messy right here with all these zones. So what I typically do is I'll draw a rectangle over it. So see how I drew this zone over this zone right here? So there's a zone right there. What I did was I outlined it. And now I can turn off this indicator. So I can see it a lot better, right? It's a lot clearer. So for step one, again, we confirm the trend, it's bullish. Step two, identify a bottom wick rejection off the SRV2 zone with a moderate green candle. So right here, we have the rejection off the zone. You can see that this candle right here is moderate. In my opinion, I think it's strong. We're just going to say it's moderate here. This is where it's most subjective because some people can't determine whether it's moderate or strong. In order for it to be moderate, basically, here's a few key things that I look for. I try to make sure that the top wick isn't bigger than the body and the top wick isn't bigger than the bottom wick. So you see the rejection right here. The body is pretty big. If you measure the body right here, it's about like 60 pips, right? 6 points. If you measure the top here, it's about 1 point, right? So, this right here is way bigger than this. So this is going to be considered moderate or strong. It just depends on how you look at it. Everyone looks at it a little differently. This is an example of a moderate candle. This is an example of a weak candle. So if I'm looking over here, I'm going to point to this one down here. So this candle right here, I'm considering weak because if you measure the body right here, the body's about 60 pips. The top wick is about 70 pips. It's bigger than the body. And the bottom wick right here is smaller than it as well. So this right here being an example of a weak candle. This one next to it, there's no wick at all. This is considered a strong candle. This right here next to it is considered a moderate candle. Another moderate candle. Moderate, weak, 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 etc. Right? So you guys see the examples there. So again, going back to the criteria, first step, confirm that you're trading the direction of the trend. It's bullish, confirm the bottom wick rejection off the SRV2 zone. There's a zone right here, rejecting off that right there. You want to make sure it's a moderate green candle. We've confirmed that. Third, you want to confirm that you're trading in the direction of momentum. We have a buy signal right here. And then you enter on the close of the candle. Candle right here closes, you enter for a buy position, 100 pips. You let the trade run. And it looks like, well, so this entry here wasn't a good example. Look at the timestamp over here. This is at 1 o'clock. Market was about to close. So that's why I was kind of hesitant to show this as an example, but that's the setup that you're looking for. So this right here is not a good example because, it'll probably hit eventually, but the market's closed right now, right? So this is where the market's currently at. Market's closed. Let me show you guys a better example where the market's actually moving. We have to go like into the session. So let's go earlier in the session where like there's actual movement. I don't see over here. I don't think there was any during the live session today because I was looking for entries for this, but I didn't really see any. There's nothing here. This is a weak candle. This is a weak candle. This is a weak candle. These are all weak candles. There's no entries there specifically. The market was kind of choppy today. There wasn't really much of a range. It was more of a consolidating market. This strategy works good during this strategy works good during ranging markets, but not necessarily consolidating markets because you can see how price, you can see it a lot better here if I zoom out. Price was just going sideways like the entire day. So you wouldn't even be applying this during this type of market. You want it to be ranging, but you want it to be a wide enough range that there'll be entries. Let me see if there's anything here. I don't think there was though, because price wasn't even going anywhere this whole, pretty much the whole day. Let me go back a little further. Let's see. It's not a moderate candle. It's hard to find these moderate candles because there wasn't really much direction. A lot of these candles are just like sideways candles. Okay, I think this might be one here. Again, it's not really a good entry because price is like, and again, you have to avoid the red flag. So there's a lot of criteria here that goes into play, but let me just see if this here would be an entry for us. Okay, so again, right here, let me turn this off. Here's the chart with no indicators except the zones. All right, so here's a blank chart, right? There's nothing on the chart. I'm going to turn on the V2 indicator. There goes the V2 indicator. I'm going to go and draw my zone from back here. See, I just outlined the zone right there. I'm going to turn off the indicator, and now we have a clean zone. So clean zone right there. You turn on the indicator. That's where the zone came from. Turn that off. We're good. Okay, so let's again take a look at the overall bias. Let me see if we can confirm everything. This is like earlier in the session. This is like at 7. Like at 7. 46. There's actually another one right here. So that might be better actually. So looking at the same thing again, let me turn on the trend meter. Okay. First, you want to confirm the trend. So you can see here that price is below the pivots. Pivots are angling down. If you want to look at the specific criteria here, you want to make sure that the K2 pivot 4 is over the 3, which it is right here. You can either analyze it that way or just do it the same way I mentioned. You want to make sure price is below the pivot. Pivots are angling down. And if you want to look at like whether 4 is over 3, then you can do that as well. But you can just make sure price is below pivots and the pivots are angling down. So that said, we have a bearish trend here. Trend meter is red, pivots are angling down, bearish trend there. Second criteria, identify a top wick rejection off the SR zone with a moderate red candle. So right here, you can see this candle is rejecting off the zone. It's a small wick rejection, but it's still a wick rejection. Nonetheless, you can see this is a moderate red candle, right? There's no big wick on the bottom. It might be about the same size as the top, but the main key thing here is that the body's way big. Body's way bigger than the bottom wick. So we can consider that moderate. Third requirement, you want to confirm that you're trading in the direction of momentum. We have a sell signal right here that meets criteria, and you would enter this for a short position. Have everything set up right there for a sell, let the trade run, and you can see it blast right through a TP right there on the next candle. So that's going to be another example of an SR rejection. This strategy is really good during the summer because the market tends to range a lot during the summer. That's probably why Dejan here is getting more in touch with the strategy. Again, it's been a while since we've applied it, but you can see that the strategy still works perfectly fine. It's just hard to like identify because the zones here are usually pretty messy. Like you have to have a dedicated chart for these zones because if you don't, you're just going to have so many zones marked up everywhere. So there goes another example right there. And let me just pull up one more example for Dejan. So when he looks at it later, he'll be able to decipher. Again, same situation right here. It's in a downtrend. We have a wick rejection off the structure right there. It's a moderate red candle. You enter it for a short position. Same thing again. You let the trade run and then full TP right there. So it's a super simple strategy. It's just, it requires a lot of criteria. So unless you're familiar with the criteria, it's going to be a little difficult to like check everything off and making sure that everything is like aligned. But so if the market starts to range a lot during the summer, we're going to make this one of the official strategies. This strategy is typically mostly used during the summer. So when the market slows down, it's completely fine. You know, I'm going to find ways to make money either way. We don't have to focus on just one thing. I've been trading the US 30 long enough to know exactly how to adapt with the market. So if the market changes, it's not a big deal for us because we have strategies for different conditions. But all right, I think that might be it. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to put your questions in the chat. I'm here to help you guys out. So whatever you guys need help with, drop your questions. Otherwise, we will be wrapping this up pretty soon. It's 3:15 right now. So we've been on this session for a little over an hour. And I think I covered pretty much everything you guys needed help with. So if there's anything else that you guys want me to cover, drop your questions in the chat. I'm here to help you guys out. So, you know, don't worry, there's no dumb questions. I feel like some people are always scared to ask questions because they're worried that they're asking something dumb. But, you know, just keep in mind, everyone is new at trading at some point. So if you got a dumb question or you think it's a dumb question, you know, ask away. I'll try my hardest not to make you feel dumb, but sometimes it's a really common question. It's like a really basic question sometimes, but you just need to hear it explained from me in a manner that you can understand. So yeah, if there's any question that you guys have, you know, feel free to pop into the chat. Let me check the Telegram real quick. Yeah, there's nothing else there. So like, you know, here's my setup. A lot of you guys are wondering what my setup looks like. I have a very basic setup. I have my main screen over here with just the charts. This is like a 27-inch screen. It looks small on this picture, but it's actually pretty huge. It covers like a big area of my screen. Then I have two, I think 21-inch screens here, 21 or 24-inch monitors right here. This is where I identify the chat. I just have the chat open at all times. Up here is my FTMO. MT4 is hit buy or sell on that button there. And then this was dedicated just for chart analysis. Let's see, Hussein said, just have a random question. Your YouTube recorded videos are not as clear as Zoom. Yeah, unfortunately, the YouTube live streams, they're like capped at a certain they're capped at a certain what do you call this? They're capped at a certain screen rate, or I don't know. Let me see if I can figure out what it is. They're capped at 720p. So let's see, Hussein said there's a lot of streamers who have HD 1080 stream. I'll try to figure out if there's a way to do that, Hussein. They might be using a different, so with a lot of those streamers, they're using like a third-party program. For these here, because I stream every day, it's like directly to YouTube. So with YouTube, I think they cap it. They might be using something else like to stream it. And they're like recording it in a different way. So I'll try to find a different way to do that. But it's just to it's a lot of work because these videos are for like they go on for like hours, right? So if I was to convert this video to like a 1080p, if I was to save it and convert it, like I used to do that before, it would take forever. And if that was the case, then I wouldn't be going live every day. So there's kind of a balance there. It's either I go live every day and you have like decent quality, or I go live like once or twice a week and you have high quality. So, there has to be a balance there. Because I can't necessarily edit these videos and then convert them and all that. So it's a lot of work to like, because I go live like, sometimes twice a day. And if these videos are like over an hour, they take like an hour to convert, and it takes way too long for me to do something like that. Yeah, so Hussein said, yeah, because he goes through my old videos and the quality is a bit hard to see the pivots. So what you should do, Hussein, in that case, and also I kind of do that. Well, the reason why I don't go back and redo it is because I want you to actually pull up the chart yourself, because that's the only way you'll learn, right? You'll never learn from just watching me do stuff. You'll learn more stuff from actually applying and executing yourself. So what I would recommend is if you see something like that and the pivots are kind of hard to see, pull up your own chart, right? Rewind it to that date and then pull up the example yourself. Because then if you do that, you're going to go ahead and back test it yourself and you do everything from hand. Like say, for example, you're rewatching this and you're like, oh, this is hard to see, right? So if it's hard to see, you're just going to see where the timestamp is. So go back to replay. And then you pretty much mark it up yourself. And that way it forces you to actually practice, right? Instead of just watching my videos, because you're not going to learn anything from the videos. I'm sure you guys have watched like a ton of my videos and then you step away for like an hour and you come back and you forgot what you watched, right? It happens to me too. You're never going to watch, you're not going to learn much from like actually watching the videos. You'll mainly learn from actually practicing. So the videos are more so meant for you to have some sort of structure and understand what I'm doing, but not necessarily to help you understand stuff. Because the real stuff, the only stuff that you need to understand will be the criteria, like the requirements. Those videos are going to be high quality. So the videos where I put the requirements up, those will be high quality because I upload those manually. They're not like live stream. The only ones are like the previous live streams. And the thing is, a lot of people don't have live streams like mine up. Like people will live stream, but they won't upload it to the screen. They won't upload it to YouTube, right? They're only going to upload like maybe 1 or 2 videos, not like a whole week long of live streams for the entire week. So, yeah, let's see. Hussein said for 1 minute, 2 month data is available. Can't find your early March entries on the chart. So the thing with this, Hussein, is that backtesting is only going to get you so far, right? You need a forward test. Backtesting, like, for example, because I see you in the chat like every day asking a lot of questions, which is a good thing. But the backtesting, if you were backtesting that much and you still don't understand it, you got to forward test it, right? The backtesting is not going to help you. Like, for example, your question earlier with the high lows, how they repaint. If you were forward testing, that question shouldn't even be a question for you because you'd see that it doesn't actually apply that way. You only see it that way because you're backtesting it. So for me personally, I don't really like backtesting, and I don't even really believe in backtesting. I think backtesting is good if you're trying to figure out how to apply a strategy, but when you're actually testing it, it's better to forward test. So For me personally, you can backtest years and years of data and you'll still lose the trade and you'll still make a mistake. That's because you're not used to doing it real time. So for me personally, Hussein, I think if you understand the requirements already, then you shouldn't backtest anymore. You should just forward test. Because if you keep backtesting, you're gonna only look for the winners and you're gonna ignore the losers. When you're forward testing, that forces you to use your trade psychology to like actually apply the strategy, right? Because it's easy when, like, for example, you're Hussein, you can backtest all you want, right? You can backtest and you can take a whole hour analyzing this. When the chart's happening real time, you have like a split second to think, okay, I'm going to enter this trade or not, right? So I think at this point, if you're at that level where you think you understand already, or even if you think you're like even halfway there, I would just stop backtesting. All you need to the only reason to backtest is to get the criteria down, right? If you have the requirements down already, then you're done backtesting. Because I've already backtested the strategies. We know it works because I backtested it. You don't have to backtest it to see if it works because it wouldn't be a strategy if it didn't work. So my main advice is just to be forward testing. So if you're still not ready for real accounts, just open a demo account. And then whenever you see an entry, just take it during the live session. Take it during live session or continue trading even after the live session and just practice, practice. Because you're not going to get the same practice from backtesting versus applying it real time. Because when you apply real time, that's when your emotions start to get tested. You start to second think your trade. You don't know if it's going to work or not. And you actually have your emotions like running high versus backtesting where you kind of have training wheels on. Let's see. Question from William. William's asking, will I get the black text box with white lettering? You have to do all this stuff your own, William. So this here is my data right here. So all these templates are stuff that I created. I can't share this with you because you have to create it yourself. So this is just a text box. So if you open a text box here, you just create your own strategy. So like when you pull up the videos, you're gonna pull up the videos like, okay, this is a high-low momentum scalp. When you're watching the videos here that I have, you're just gonna go and type it up yourself. Requirement 1, identify high or lower low, right? And then you hit template and you hit save. So I can't give you this stuff because this isn't part of TradingView. You'll have to just type it out. But this also forces you to practice. So I do that on purpose too. Like a lot of people have asked in the group if I have like an outline for you guys to follow. I purposely don't give you guys an outline because it's just going to give you guys the opportunity to not do the work. So, I've been doing this for a while. I've been mentoring people for a while now, and I know all the shortcuts that people try to take. They want to have all the requirements outlined. They want to have me like show examples, but never actually practice and stuff like that. Not that you guys do that, but I've worked with a lot of people in the past, and I purposely give you guys. I make it harder for you guys to get stuff down because that's the only way you guys will learn if you guys actually put in the work. Yeah, exactly. Hussein said, sure, that's much better to take actual trades. I agree. Yeah, and 100%, Hussein. Back when I was creating the strategies, I used to love backtesting because I was like, okay, I backtest, and I'm like, I have like 100% win rate, right? But then when I apply it live, I'm like, why do I keep losing? It's because it's different. It's like way different when you're doing it live versus backtesting. So I think live forward testing is the best way to get better at trading. Backtesting is just good if you're trying to test out a strategy, but all the strategies have already been tested, so you don't really have to backtest them. You just have to forward test them and see how they play out, because market conditions are always going to be different. They're never going to be the same. Patrick said, all I ask is that you trade my account full time, Sean. I know, right? If only it was that easy. If only it was that easy. Yeah, CJ, sorry, I did see your question up there. Let me scroll up, or let me just scroll down. You just put it back again. So CJ said, just to clarify, this morning you mentioned how we might have to change pip size due to low volatility. Does that include liquidity pushes also? So not necessarily, CJ. I think right now what we have is already at the bare minimum because the volatility right now is already kind of low. It's not very high. I'm comparing the volatility today to like how it was during COVID, right? So like during COVID, price would spike like 500 pips within seconds or like 1,000 pips within a couple minutes. During those times, if you remember, CJ, we used to use like a 500 pip TP stop loss, right? For the breakout, it was 500, 500. Right now it's at 300, 300. I think that's pretty much as low as we can go. So if anything, if the market picks up, we're going to make it wider. Instead of 300, we'll probably go to 500. But right now where it's at 300, 300, I think that's probably as low as we can go. Because if we go anywhere lower than that, it's kind of, it's too tight, right? Because you got to cover the spread plus, it's just not going to work out. Like right now where we're at, is where it's currently at. That's basically the lowest we'll go. I probably won't go to like 150, 150 is just too tight. I think 300, 300 is like a good sweet spot because in this situation, we can do 300, 300. And then if the volatility dies down, we still have opportunity to move stop loss and profit. If it's 100, 100, you can't move anything at all because at that point, you're so close to hitting your TP or stop loss that you can't really make any decisions from there. And then at that point, your risk is going to be too high. And I'm already capped out on lot size. Like my lot size is already max lot size for FCMO and MFF. So I can't go any tighter because if I do, I'm still going to have the same risk. So it just wouldn't make sense. CJ said, yeah, I remember that good times. Yeah. If you guys traded with me during COVID, it was a fun time because we could literally take any trade and it just automatically hits TP. Or we can have a trade and we'll just hold on to it like literally all day. And then like, hours later, it would hit like 1,500 pips. So I made like 15K in like one trade. It's crazy. Well, not 15K. I take that back. I would use a smaller lot size. So I think the max I would make for those trades would be like 7,500. Still a lot, but it was crazy because the market was kind of like super volatile, like ultra volatile. All right, so I think that might be it, guys. If there's any other questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We've been on the session for about an hour and a half. I think we covered a lot of good stuff today. So if there's anything else that you guys want to cover, feel free to put them in the chat. Otherwise, we'll wrap this up and then we'll see you guys back here tomorrow morning for the next live session. Let's check the news for tomorrow. I think there's some news tomorrow, right? Wednesday, May 31st. We got Fed member Bowman speaking at 5:50. He might be speaking up until open. Chicago PMI, Joel's job openings. We have some news events tomorrow. Nothing too crazy, but we will have some news events. But yeah, I think that's it. All right, guys. So I'm gonna wrap this up for the day. If you guys have any questions, feel free to message me or email me on Telegram, or email me or message me on Telegram. I'm available. Just let me know if you guys have any questions. So, all right, guys, have a great rest of your day, and I will see you guys back here.